Americans. But if they wouldn't have dropped the ball, then guess what? It would have been swept under the water. The people already knew what to do when they found that dead body, due to the fact that they're used to finding them. Just back in August of 2022, it was 6 bodies near Los Cabos that was hanging near a tourist area. They were dangling from the bridge. I mean, it's all type of crimes that go over, that goes on over there. They have the police patrolling the beaches because of the kidnappings and different things like that over in Los Cabos. But because, again, like I said, because they dropped the ball, they had no choice but to come forward. But if things would have went as planned, and us Americans would have went with, the death happened at this time and happened at this time, then it would have just been another one bites the dust. Oh, well, let's move on.
While most people have been on their seats expecting major headway on the Shanquella Robinson case, things have just been moving from one complication to yet another complication. And in the latest curve in this whole case, reports have just revealed that the Mexican government might not be the only entity at play here, as it appears that Mexican cartels might also be involved in this elaborate scheme. The story doesn't just end with the reports of them being involved in the case. The more shocking part is that it seems they might be actively trying to sabotage the entire investigation. I mean, why else would they be trying to derail an investigation if they won't be extensively affected by its outcome? Well, this question and a lot of others are about to get answered right now, so if you want to know those answers, then stick around here till the end of the video. At this point, a lot of people would agree that the Shanquella Robinson case has been coming with one new wrinkle or the other, but in reality, the only thing this proves is that her death wasn't as simple as it was made out to look at first. According to the recent update that just got out, the Shanquella Robinson case wasn't supposed to blow up this much. Specifically, the reports revealed that the Mexican cartels are known to have been responsible for several kidnappings and deaths of both Mexicans and Americans on vacation over there. However, they've always managed to stay under the radar, as most of those things would usually be reported as accidents. But this one with Shanquella has drawn the attention of the entire world, making it more difficult for them to carry out their activities. In fact, reports revealed that this is why the first statement about her death and how it happened was a lie, because the only reporter who was talking about the case over there seems to have been fed their reports. I mean, if the Mexican government was actually running things, there probably would have been many other reporters talking about the case. But because the government itself is outgunned and outmanned, it checks out that the cartels might be the ones that try to change the trajectory of the case. However, the FBI has a different idea of who might be derailing things with the investigation, and it goes without saying that they are probably onto something. According to details about the case by a former FBI agent, the Mexican government is wholly responsible for how things have been moving with the investigation. Specifically, former FBI Assistant Director Swecker said, in extraterritorial cases particularly involving the Mexican government, which is really hit or miss when you deal with the prosecutors and the federal police down there and the judicial police down there. They're hit or miss in terms of their competence, number one, number two, and their motivation to actually get moving on the case. So we have to get the evidence in our hands before we can actually introduce the evidence into U.S. courts. That's all done by treaty, and that's ribbons and bows and formal papers requests that go back and forth, back and forth. It's a painstaking, laborious, bureaucratic process, and in Mexico, it's even more so. Basically, Swecker's view as a former top FBI official isn't that the Mexican cartels are directly influencing the case, but it's more that the Mexican government isn't doing as much as it should be in trying to find headway in the case. However, his focus wasn't only on the Mexican government. You see, according to the original story, Shanquella Robinson's friends seem to have been involved in some of the events that led up to her death. Per the news reports, 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson went on a trip to Mexico with her friends and never made it back alive. And while her death is indeed tragic, it was how she died that was generating an outsized amount of commentary on social media. Robinson went to Cabo with a group of 6 friends and was found dead in a hotel room less than 24 hours later. The friends called her mom and said she died from alcohol poisoning, but an autopsy report showed her neck had been broken and her spine was cracked. However, this wasn't always the story that was pushed by the media when the terrible ordeal first occurred. According to excerpts from a police report obtained by the Charlotte Observer, a doctor from a local hospital in Cabo, Mexico, was with Robinson and other house members for almost 3 hours before she was pronounced dead on October 29th. The partial police report was provided to the Charlotte Observer by an investigative reporter for Metrópoli MX, a news publication in Mexico. In the report, authorities say at 2:13 p.m. on October 29th, medical aid was summoned to the villa where Robinson and her vacation crew were staying, located in San Jose del Cabo. An hour later, Dr. Gutierrez from the American Medical Center, a local hospital in the area, arrived to assist Robinson. Gutierrez was then told by others at the house that Robinson had drunk a lot of alcohol. He then decided to give Robinson an IV. The report goes on to say that Gutierrez found a female, understood in the report to be Robinson, with stable vital signs but dehydrated, unable to communicate verbally, and appearing to be inebriated. Gutierrez then told the other housemates he believed Robinson needed to be transferred to a hospital, but her friends insisted that she be treated at the villa. Dr. Gutierrez then tried to give Robinson an IV but was unsuccessful. According to the police report, an hour into Gutierrez's house visit, Robinson began to have a seizure. 911 was called shortly after by one of the housemates. By this point, Shanquella Robinson was struggling to survive. She was suffering from difficulty breathing and a lowered pulse. At 4:49 p.m., Gutierrez detected Robinson had stopped having a pulse. They quickly began giving her CPR. A while after she was pronounced dead, a video purportedly showing Robinson being brutally beaten by another woman in an apparent hotel room took over the internet. The woman in the video, identified as Robinson, is not shown defending herself in the one-sided fight. The brief clip shows Robinson being punched in the head and face multiple times and thrown on the floor before more blows are rained down on her. These details are integral to the current investigation of the case, which is why Swecker, the former FBI executive, also said that the investigation that's currently underway by the FBI will involve the extensive search of all of the electronic devices of everyone involved, along with a series of interviews, just to try to establish a clear picture of what had happened and guess the people he was referring to when he said all of this. Our very own Cabo 6, alluding to the video that got out, he said, "You got the video. Obviously, you can obtain stored text data, stored email data. People tend to be careless at the moment. And then they'll text each other back and forth about what happened or after the fact, sort of try to get their story together, that sort of thing. So I'm pretty sure the FBI is looking at the electronic evidence very closely. They're interviewing people. I call it interviewing because if you're not under arrest, it's not an interrogation. If you will, it's an interview. You don't have the right to counsel. You can get up and leave anytime you want. So I'm sure they have already interviewed everybody if they haven't lawyered up. So they've gathered as much of the evidence as they can, I believe, at this point that can be gathered in the United States. To cap it all off, as the FBI's investigation nears the 2-month mark, Swecker says it's important to keep the pressure on the Mexican government. When you apply pressure and you pressure the government and you've almost embarrassed the government, then they get moving, he said. This tells you that the FBI isn't only looking at the cartels and all the other forces that might have had a hand in this outcome alone, as the Mexican government also bears a share of that responsibility, along with Robinson's friends, who might even have a deeper involvement than meets the eye. These talks about cartel involvements have gotten a lot of people talking on social media, and the idealistic views have just been endless. One user, alluding to the point made by the former FBI agent, wrote, "Then Mexicans don't care about nothing but the cartel. That's why I hate that stuff happened to Shanquella over there." At the moment, no one is exactly sure if or even how the cartel is involved, but with the current trajectory of the investigation, it is certain that if there's a way there, the investigation will surely reveal it. But until then, we wait. That's it for this video. Goodbye.